Hey boys and girls, it's Night Stalker here. Welcome along today to my Spear Sergeant guide. Check it out. Why Spear Sergeants? Everyone keeps asking me why Spear Sergeants, why are you doing it? Well, because this video isn't necessarily for all of those veterans out there, although I hope there's some information in here that's useful to you. But it's mostly for new people, because one of the units that new players get told all the time is take Spear Sergeants. And a lot of people are now questioning why, because they're not the unit that they used to be. They're not nearly as powerful, right? And at 250 leadership, you can get paladins for 5 leadership more. So why on earth would you want Spear Sergeants? Well, again, because you're a new player, right? And one of the big advantages that this unit has is it's really good in those PvE missions that you've got to do, your expeditions, everything along your F4 timeline, your quest path and things like that. You get a lot of PvE missions, and these guys are really, really strong for that. And they're available really early on in the game. And of course, the biggest thing about them is they also become Stalwarts or Loyal Guards, depending on which server you're playing on. Same unit, just a different name. When they get upgraded, right? In the Season 5 backtrack. So without further ado, I guess we'll get on and we'll talk about some of the abilities they have, what their strengths are, some of the little nuances that are really odd about them that you wouldn't expect to see, such as, did you know that they do a little bit of blunt damage? Who knew, right? And I'll teach you some stuff. Let's go on over now to the training room and we'll see the basics of this unit. Okay, so the very first formation is the very standard line formation that all shields have. And what that does for you is it gives you a nice big shield wall that is actually really resistant to ranged units, even high tier ranged units. And you'll see that they just don't take any damage really, or even any hits. You know, with these low level in the training room here, they won't do a lot of damage anyway, but you can see that none of them are actually taking any sort of damage at all. Even though it looks like there's great big holes in their shield wall, and it looks like you can easily shoot them, you can't. They're very magic shields, and they're bigger than they look. So the next formation that you've got is your block formation. Again, common to all shield units. Look at that. Same thing, they're not going to take any damage. And the last one is the, what would you call it, a Shieldtron? What do they call it? They do call it Shieldtron. So, again, a very standard for shield units. But these guys benefit from the Shieldtron a little bit more than, say, your Imperial Spearguard and stuff like that. Shieldtron in general for shields is a very bad formation. The reason for that is they're in a nice little circle that fits underneath a musket bomb template, it fits underneath a trebuchet template, and of course anything even down to a scorpion will blow them all up in one hit, right? So that's definitely what you want to avoid. The number one ability that they have is an advance, and they'll advance in whatever formation that you happen to be in already. So for example, in the circle formation, the Shieldtron, see how they sort of stay in the formation, and as they approach things they'll stabby and kill them all real good. You've got your line formation, and again, when you advance, they'll retain their formation. Right? And you see, as soon as they touch the enemy troops, they tend to break up. Why that is, I don't know. It's just a thing that is. Things like the Stalwarts will actually just keep pushing on through, right? But that's not how these guys work, so you need to be aware of that. As soon as they touch the enemy, they'll split. And what you use the formation for is to push into ranged units or to push into things that have got a lot of immediate frontal damage, like pikeman units, for example. The other ability they have is the number 2 ability, which is Cover Commander. This unit used to be famous for this. They were the only unit that had this for a while. And you'll see that as they move around, they'll just follow you. Generally what happens is they'll generally face the closest enemy. If you wade into a unit with this, they'll have their backs exposed to some units. So it's a good idea to try. I'll see if I can show it to you here. It's better to stay around the edge of the unit. And we've got ourselves another ranged unit. What a pain. Would be nice if we get a melee unit. So what you want to do is so that they don't have anyone around behind them. I won't swing my sword here, I'll just sort of show you. See how I'm moving around the outside of the combat? This will yield you best results. You know, if you're going to go into the middle, watch how they push through and they make even the archers will end up behind some of the spear sergeants, right? Now let me see if we can do it with a melee unit, because there's something else I want to show you with this as well. So this is a perfect example with the shields. It'll do us nicely. So watch what happens when I push into them. Again, they'll end up with some of them behind the unit, some of them won't. But also, do you see how once they're in combat they kind of stop and fight? And they won't come towards you until they've finished fighting who they're fighting. If you want them to break formation immediately, if you hit any of the other formations, they'll immediately start moving towards. And that's a little nuance that you need to be aware of. Now the other thing that's quite important is, I'll show you the veterancy lines very soon. One of the veterancy lines has brace written on it. But you'll see some of these guys here are actually getting stunned when they get hit, whether or not they have the brace ability. This unit currently doesn't. I'll see if I can show you that again. Right, here we go. Now Shieldron is one of the main formations you'll use in PvE. Not so useful, again, in player versus player, because as I explained, they fit under a template, right? And they get killed pretty quick. But to see how some of these guys are getting knocked back and stunned? See this guy here, right here? He's being stunned, right? And currently I don't have the stun on the veterancy line. So why on earth are they being stunned? Who knows? It's a little nuance of the unit that you need to be aware of. It's handy, and I seem to notice it even when they're in the cover commander. They'll get that a little occasional stun. Alright, enough about the basics of the unit. Let's move on over and we'll talk about the veterancy lines. Okay, so here we are with the Elite Spear Sergeants. As you can see, I've just got some very basic doctrines on them. They're not a unit I use a lot, again, because I have much more powerful units available to me for the same cost. But you, as a new player, may not have that option. So I've just taken the basic stabby ones with the piercing damage and piercing armor penetration. Got some extra health, that's always helpful, especially when you're a longsword and you heal them. Some piercing defense, which is great against pikes and archers. And an uncommon blunt damage doctrine as well. Just for that little bit of extra damage. And also, I really had nothing else to put in that slot, because I don't really want to use my purple tier doctrines on this unit. Save those for later. Firstly, the unit traits. Staunch defenders. It says it's excellent in defense, making it ideal for blocking an enemy advance. Are they really? They're okay. All right, they're probably these days, now that they've been power crept, probably closer to a blue tier unit's ability to defend. Heavy armor, of course. Well, they do have heavy armor. When you have them in cover commander mode, that's when Relentless comes into play. They will push enemies out the way and try and push through them, as we just demonstrated, to try and get to you to defend you. And I've actually got a nice clip of that I'll show you soon. Fireproof armor means they take reduced damage from fire, which is not as common as it used to be. And shield fighters, so they take a little bit less damage from ranged. Let's have a look at the veterancy. As you can see here, as I just explained, they don't use the bracing weapon stuns enemies, this particular version, and you just saw it in the training room. However, they still do have that little stun. It's not every hit, it's not even close to every hit, but it is there, even when you're using this veterancy line. So here we go. Here on the screen, you can see all of the bonuses that the top veterancy line will give you. Let's have a look at their stats. This is Elite Spear Sergeants on top veterancy line. Let's have a quick flick over and we'll talk about the bottom veterancy line. Alrighty, so here we go, we've just changed them to the bottom veterancy line. You can see all their stats over here on the right hand side. And on screen now is all of the lists, the list of all the bonuses that you get for taking the bottom veterancy line. Generally speaking, the bottom veterancy line makes them better against cavalry, which again, because they're one of the first units in the game, they go back away. They're not really anti-cav anymore. So I kind of like to use the top line, but you do get some of the nice stuff like the brace stun and things like that, which makes quite a big difference really. So if you're finding that you're using them brace more, use the bottom line. If you find that you're using them in the cover commander more, use the top line, or any variation on that you really want to use. So, here we are in a PvE match. This is an Expedition 3, and we're going to use the Shieldtron formation. Now again, don't do this against other players for the reasons that we've already discussed. Now, you'll notice that these AI opponents will just sort of try and lap around your unit, and you can just keep stabbing them to death all the way around. And even if they make it all the way around the back, like the guy at the bottom there, they'll continually get attacked. You'll see some of the guys, they will actually turn around and stab inside and to the other sides of the circle, which gives them additional damage output. And this is really important. Most of your expeditions or your thief raids and things like that, you'll be able to use this formation consistently and effectively. Let's see what happens when we go to the line formation in PvE. Here we go, the AI has spawned in, and you'll notice how they can't quite get through the line. Now, actually in this video, one will actually teleport through the line, and I'll have to hit him with my sword, but you'll see that it's very effective to just stand there and attack them. See how he just slipped through the line? I don't know how that happened. I think he's bugged. Another unit straight in. And again, you can just stand behind your unit and watch all of the AI opponents just absolutely obliterate themselves on your spear sergeants. And this is why they're so useful for new players, because you've got a lot of these PvE missions to do to get ahead in the world. So use these formations and use this unit to maximum effect in your PvE matches. Okay, so here we are in a siege match, standard siege. And our team is starting to push onto the A point. So we're going to call up our spear sergeants and we're going to use them as a shield wall, which will give our team a bit of confidence that they can move up without too much risk to their units. You'll see we've created a nice safe space behind us for our units to stage. What we're going to do here is we're going to wait and look for an opportunity. We'll see our shield maidens are moving in and we've started trebbing. So in we go, and I've called them into me in cover commander mode, so that now that we've disrupted the shield line, hopefully they'll arrive in time and we'll start destroying the shields as they try to reform. And this is really important once you knock a shield unit down to try and kill them while they reform. You'll notice that our cavalry has given us a bit of space now, and we want to start capturing this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to put up a shield wall. The shield maidens can't do it all themselves, so we need a little bit more just to keep those enemies off us. It will also give us anti-ranged cover, right? There's a whole bunch of PvE's crossbows and things over there that now can't shoot through. I noticed that the land sharks are coming in the back, so I immediately go on to cover commander so that those land sharks have less chance to hit me. Unfortunately, we get charged and killed by cav. You'll notice that some of my spear sergeants survived the cavalry charge and managed to kill a hero. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here to you is really important to use multiple roles with units that can do multiple things. You can trade from shield wall to cover commander, back to shield wall, back to cover commander, and use your unit much more effectively like this. Remember to constantly change in and out depending on what your situation requires. Here's just another little gameplay clip. I've used my big map to be able to tell me what's going on down here, and I see a lot of people. So I'm going to wait for the spear sergeants to come down and join me and cover commander, and then we're going to try and block this back area through to the supply point for as long as we can. We've got a lot of support, we should be able to make it work. Now in here I immediately get blitzed by something, and it hurts a lot, and I'm immediately down to a quarter of my health. Fortunately, because I am in cover commander mode, my guys push through the enemy and start blocking all the damage on me. Alright, we're getting a little bit overwhelmed and we've got pikes. Because I can see we've got pikes, I pull back and I create a shield wall to give our pikes more survivability. I kind of hoped that they would create a formation behind the shield wall, but that's not to happen. As you can see, the shield wall has given us plenty of space, and with all their stabby, they've managed to wear down the enemy unit in conjunction with the pikes, who have managed to get behind us now. I called them in when I started getting low. Unfortunately, I didn't survive through that one. There's a second gameplay clip where I died. But as you can see, the spear sergeants are still holding their own against these heroes. The reason for that is because it's a short sword and a poleaxe, and they're not very good at killing units, right? In comes some cavalry and a spear, and that spells the end of them. Again, switch in and out of the modes for the spear sergeants to get the best results out of them that you can. So, There we have it, boys and girls. Hopefully you've learned a thing or two about the Spear Sergeants. And don't forget, if you're going to buy any of those lovely creator packs from the My.Games website, their store, don't forget to use my code NightStalker. It's just down here at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to put that in, that would really help the channel and help me bring you more videos like this. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. That is the biggest thing that can help me continue to bring you more of these unit guides and all of my guided gameplay and things like that. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you being here.